Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about my experience with an eating disorder program, an inpatient program, what it was like for me, what the typical day was like, routines, what the rules were. Hopefully you guys will find it helpful if this is something you're thinking about in your recovery journey, if you're thinking about going to an inpatient program at all. So the typical stay for the program that I was in was usually a minimum of 2 months. It was a very small program. There was only 6 beds. It was a shared room, so you were sharing the same room with 6 other girls. That could be a good or a bad thing depending on like which group of girls you got. I was lucky to have a really great group of girls. We all got along really well. We all ended up coming in around the same time and leaving at the same time, so it was kind of nice to be able to share the whole journey with somebody. We got to know each other really well, and we became like great friends, great supports for each other, and it was nice just being able to have somebody to understand what you're going through and to be able to go through the ups and the downs of the program, all the challenges. So I think that was really great, just being in such a small setting and that closeness between us. We had a weekly schedule that we had planned out. We had a calendar and it had all of our meal and snack times, as well as the times of our programs that we were to attend, what they were, laid out everything for us that we'd go day by day. The programming was weekdays only. During the weekend we were free. There was no eating disorder staff on the unit, so that was kind of our free time, also like time for passes if we got them. But during the week we were kept busy between snacks and meals and groups. Once a week we meet with our dietitian. We'd have a menu marking group and we'd mark up our weekly menus. So we'd plan out and choose what we wanted for the entire week. We all got a meal plan customized to where we were at in our recovery and how much we needed. It was based on exchanges. So for example, like breakfast, we required like say 2 proteins, 2 grains, a dairy. So we'd mark our menus according to what our meal plan said. There was also different rules we had to follow when marking up our menus. For example, fruit. If we had fruit throughout the day, we were only allowed to choose one type of fruit one time a day. So say for breakfast, we had chosen like an apple. We weren't allowed to choose an apple for a snack, or for like lunch. We had to choose like a banana or an orange or some other type of fruit. It had to be broken up like that. So you had a variety in the mixture of what you were eating. You also couldn't really, or they would call you out if you started to like choose the same thing over and over again, especially for breakfast. So say you had cereal chosen like every single day, they would make you switch that up, at least switch something up to something different like twice a week. So instead of having cereal, they would make you choose like an oatmeal or toast or something different, so you weren't continually choosing the same thing and just repeating. Also, that was the same with snacks. You weren't allowed to choose the same snacks throughout the day. There were 3 snacks that we got: an AM snack, a PM snack, and an evening snack. So you had to make sure each one was different. You couldn't have the same thing for all 3 of them. And then once a week, we also got to go to what was called CAF snack. So we go down to the cafeteria in the hospital, or like the little, it wasn't really a cafeteria, it was like a little restaurant, bakery, deli kind of thing. And we got to choose a snack from there. It was kind of like our challenge for the week. And our dietitian would have like a different theme for the group. So say one week it would be like gelatos and ice cream. The next week it would be like you had to choose something that was square, or you'd have to choose a pastry. So that kind of switched up things too for our snack, and I enjoyed it. It was kind of scary at times just to like kind of go out of your comfort zone and eat something that you usually wouldn't have, but it was a nice switch up from the regular snacks that we had and kind of push yourself to challenge and try different things. incorporate things in your diet that you used to maybe restrict. But I thought it was a good challenge, and also to know that like you weren't just doing this on your own, everybody had to do it. Usually it was a hard group for everybody because it was something challenging to everybody. So the encouragement from the other girls and seeing the other girls do it and be able to push through and challenge yourself, just working together as a group, I thought it was a good thing to incorporate in our program. And then in the meal room, we had different roles. So there was a meal room that we'd go to. We all sat around a table, and then there was an ED staff that was supervising it. So whether you're one of the nurses or the dietitian or just somebody there with us, we would have 30 minutes for meals and 20 minutes for snacks. You had to finish those on time. If you didn't finish anything in the allotted time, you had to substitute whatever you didn't finish for an Ensure. Even if you like tried something or had half of something, you had to have the full amount of Ensure, like even if you left a crumb. So entrees were usually replaced with 1 bottle of Ensure, and usually everything else was like half. So say if you didn't finish like half of your entree and you didn't finish like a pudding or a dessert and some fruits, then you'd have to have a bottle or I guess if you left 2 things out, 2 bottles of Ensure to replace what you didn't eat. So then once everybody was done the meal, if you didn't complete your meal, you had to stay in the meal room while everybody left, and then you had 10 minutes to complete your Ensure. If you didn't finish your Ensure or you refused your Ensure as well, then you had to be removed from programming and the meals, or doing meals in the meal room until you finish, I think it was 3 consecutive meals in a row. So you'd have to sit out in the hallway and do meals with one of the nursing staff in the hallways until you were able to rejoin programming. There was also lots of rules around like how you ate. For example, you couldn't like cut your food up into like tiny pieces. There's different food combinations you weren't allowed to do, so like mixing your food together, unless it was something that like somebody typically does, like say like having an apple and peanut butter, like you were allowed to do that because that's like considered normal, but any other like food combining wasn't allowed because it was considered not normal. Also, the size of your bites, you had to make sure you weren't like taking really small bites or eating like really slowly, otherwise you're prompted by whoever was supervising to like take bigger bites, pick up your pace, eat faster, so that kind of thing. After we completed a meal, we would have what was called post-meal rest. So that was just kind of where you had to rest in bed for, it was an hour. Unless we had programming right after a meal or snack, then we would just stay in the meal room and do our programming. But if we didn't have any programming, we had to go back to our room and we had to sit in our bed for an hour. There was also no bathroom for that hour after a meal or snack. So when using the bathroom, our bathroom was always locked. So whenever we needed to use it, we had to get a nurse to come and unlock the bathroom for us. There was a curtain that was used there was no door, it was just a curtain. And it had to be open a certain way so they could see your feet and everything. So they had to be sitting outside the door while you use the washroom. Showering, we weren't supervised unless there was like, I don't know, it was in our care plan. I don't really know of anybody who had to have supervised showers while I was there. But the only restriction was you had 15 minutes only to shower. And there was a schedule that we'd have outside our door, so we'd just sign up for like the times that we want to shower. And so then they know like who's going to be using it at what time, and that was about it for like showering and bathroom privileges. And the groups that we had during the week, there were several different ones. We had occupational therapy, we had yoga, we had mindfulness, nutrition, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, effective communication. There was a few, I think, on like different health too. We also had relaxation, and every day after supper we would have check-in group. So we would like just discuss like what our challenges were through the day, what we thought we did like successful, how we overcame challenges, and just kind of overall how we were feeling that day. So we do that, and if we had enough time to at the end, then we would either go for like a little walk in the hallway together, or we'd play a game. So it was just kind of a nice way to end the day. So like I mentioned before, these programs and groups, they were only available to us during the weekdays. The weekends, the ED staff are off. So that was basically just free time. The weekends kind of got boring if you didn't have passes. So yeah, passes. You had to meet a certain requirement to go on pass. There was a minimum of, I think, a weight gain of about 2 kgs, or no, 1 kg, so about like 2 pounds a week. And if you met that criteria, then you were able to go on pass. There was in-hospital passes where you could get like a 2-hour in-hospital pass. You could go like anywhere off the unit as long as you're on the hospital grounds. I think it went up to like 4 hours maybe. And then there was out of hospital, so you could like leave and you could go on like day passes, or I think like 4-hour, 6-hour passes outside of the hospital with family or friends, do whatever, and just come back at the required time. And when we got weighed, it was once a week. We had to change into, it was first thing in the morning, we had to change into a hospital gown. We had to make sure we went to the washroom first. We gave a urine sample, and then we would get weighed. Those were always kind of like stressful days. Then there was rounds that they would have once a week where your doctor and dietitian would meet together, and they would discuss, like, they would see how like your weight was that week and how like your progress was and everything. And that's where they determined too whether you got passes or not. So those were kind of like stressful days, because it's like, oh, did I gain enough weight? Am I going to be getting passed for the weekend? And it was always disappointing, like if somebody didn't get passed or meet the requirements. You kind of felt bad for them, especially like if everybody else is going out on pass and you're like alone on the weekend by yourself. But yeah, the round stays were always kind of like really intense days. We anticipated them, or anxiously anticipated them, and what was going to come out of them every week for those. And every day we'd get our vitals done. Once first thing in the morning before we got up, and then the other time was like around shift change, so I think like 4 o'clock. So we would get our blood pressure done, our heart rate, and our temperature. And our blood pressure and heart rate, they were taken lying down and then standing up. So we'd lay down for like 5 minutes, and then we'd have to get up and then retake them. If there was a significant drop, I forget what the requirements were, between like your blood pressure and your heart rate, then you would be considered modified for the day until like your vitals were checked again and to make sure everything was all right. But if either your heart rate or your blood pressure had a significant change, you were modified, which meant that you had to just kind of chill in your bed all day. You were allowed to walk to groups and to the meal rooms, but that was about it. Nothing, you weren't really supposed to be up and around walking around the room. And then if both your blood pressure and your heart rate changed significantly, not just one, then you were also modified, but you couldn't walk to the meal room at all or groups. You had to be in a wheelchair. So the program that I was in, I think it was really beneficial. I did learn a lot in that program. I've been to like one other one, but I wasn't there very long, so I'm not gonna like talk about how that program was. They were both like very different, but yet similar in some ways. But I think if you are looking into recovery, a program like this would be beneficial. It is harder to do it on your own, especially if you have to weight restore, and everything is planned out for you. Your meals are prepped, you are supervised, and also being in treatment, it helps a lot, like mentally too. Doing all these groups, it helps you to just kind of change your thinking and relook at things and why you're doing things and what you can do to cope with these different feelings that you're going to get when you're recovering, because it's hard. It's going to be hard to gain the weight, seeing your body change, reintroducing challenging foods, different things like that. So an eating disorder program is like really helpful and I think beneficial for your recovery if you are thinking about it. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of things that I did not like about it. There was so many rules and restrictions that I like didn't like or didn't agree with, but that's going to just come with the program. Most of it though was beneficial. Like I said, again, like the groups and just all the things that you're learning in treatment. I think that's really great and it will stick with you. You can use these skills later on. It'll help you in the hospital, but it will also help you when you get discharged and are out of the hospital and have to start dealing with everything on your own. For me, being in the hospital, it was like, I guess, a safe place. Everything was planned out for me, and I knew it was expected for me, but it's when you're on your own and out of hospital where things get a little bit more challenging, because everything's on you now to do the right things and continue on with recovery. So really, like, learning and picking up those skills is like a must. And another benefit of being inpatient in a program, we had a psychiatrist that saw us weekly, and we also had a psychologist, like a counselor, therapist. You'd meet with her weekly, and that was really nice too, just to like work out different things and your emotions and talk about things, just having that person to talk to and help you deal with your struggles, because there was a lot of struggles going through program, and just being able to have that person to talk to and like give you suggestions and help you out with like different coping skills. It was really good to have like that on a weekly basis, to have that support. I hope this video was helpful for any of you that are thinking about going into an eating disorder program or an inpatient treatment center, just to kind of help you know what to expect out of the program. I know every program is going to be different in like certain ways, but a lot of it, they do follow the same rules. So it can give you like kind of an idea of what to expect in it, and also just let you know that it is worth going and trying it out if this is something that you want to commit to. Even though I wasn't ready when I was in the program, I did learn a lot, and I did find it helpful, even just like coping with being there at the time. And I still use a lot of the skills now that I learned. So I think that was still really great, even though I wasn't like in the proper like mindset and wanting to recover at the time, but it is really helpful. So again, thanks for watching, everyone.